Great naturalists don't learn about the wild by sitting indoors with a rulebook. They get outside, they observe, they listen to the land. So whatever you're planning to do with that rulebook, tear it to pieces, step outside, and let me walk you through this. I'm Ryan from How I Roll, and in this Rip Up the Rules, I'm going to teach you how to set up and play Wildscape so that you can rebuild a thriving ecosystem, attract exciting wildlife, and score the most victory points. Wildscape is designed by Sebastian Bleasdale and published by Karma Games, who helped sponsor this video. It's a strategic ecosystem building game for 1 to 4 players, and it plays in about 30 minutes per player. There's always room at the table for you, so come grab a seat and let's restore this Wildscape together. Decades of climate pressure and human interference left vast stretches of Africa fragile and barren, but the land is recovering, and in Wildscape, you're one of a handful of dedicated naturalists helping to bring it back. You'll build habitats tile by tile, reintroduce herbivores, attract predators and primates, and compete for bird watching objectives. At the end of the game, the player with the most valuable ecosystem wins. Think you've got what it takes to restore the Wildscape and outshine your fellow naturalists? Let's find out. Here's how you set up the game. Place the Rondel board in the center of the table with the multiplayer side facing up. Starting from a randomly chosen segment and going clockwise, place the 14 sun energy tokens in the middle ring in an alternating pattern. 2 tokens, then 1, then 2, then 1, and so on, until all spaces are filled. Then set the action selection token beside the Rondel. Mix up all the habitat tiles face down. Place 1 tile face up on each of the 9 reserved spaces around the Rondel. Then create 3 face down habitat stacks near the Rondel with a certain number of tiles based on your player count. 8 tiles per stack for 2 players, 12 for 3, and 16 for 4. Place a bird watching tile on top of 2 of these 3 stacks. Then take all the remaining habitat tiles, form a final face down stack, and place the endgame trigger tile on top of it. Place the specialist board with the side matching your player count, signified here, face up. Set all 5 specialist tokens on their starting spaces and shuffle each of the 5 specialist decks and place them next to this board. Shuffle the fauna, primate, and predator card decks separately. Reveal the top 3 cards of each deck to form a 3x3 card tableau with each deck face down to the right of its row. Deal 2 bird cards between each pair of neighboring players with a randomly chosen side face up. In a 2-player game, simply deal 4 cards between the 2 of you. Discard the remaining bird cards to the box. Shuffle the land tiles into a face down stack and flip the top tile face up. Then reveal a number of predator bonus tiles equal to 3 times your player count. So in this 3-player game, I've placed out 9. Discard the leftover tiles. Place the following remaining components in a general supply within reach of all players. Herbivore tiles sorted by habitat type and number, snake tiles sorted by habitat type, river tiles sorted by size, Oasis tiles sorted by accompanying habitat, predator pawns, primate pawns, and bioenergy tokens. And now for player setup. Shuffle the 4 starting land tiles and deal 1 to each player. Each player takes 2 bioenergy tokens and a player aid, and then draws 2 cards from each of the fauna, predator, and primate decks. Then they discard any 3 of those 6 cards and keep the remaining 3 in hand. Now everyone chooses which side of their starting land to play face up. And with that, you're set up and the Wildscape is ready to be restored. The person who most recently saw a wild animal goes first. Give them the starting player card. Before we talk about turns, let me cover 2 core concepts that everything else in the game is built around: habitat tiles and herbivores. Your personal land starts with a few tiles pre-printed on it and a bunch of empty spaces. Over the course of the game, you'll be adding habitat tiles to build it out, and an important key is understanding what a habitat is. A habitat is an area of connected tiles all sharing the same habitat type: river, woodland, wetland, savanna, or desert. The size of a habitat is simply the number of adjacent tiles forming that connected pattern. Some tiles also feature a sprout icon which counts that hex as an extra tile when determining size. For example, this savanna is a size of 1, 2, 3, 4, but this desert is a size of 1, 2, 3, 4, plus 2 more for the sprout icon, so it's a size of 6. When you place a new habitat tile, it can go on any empty space in any orientation. It doesn't need to match adjacent edges or be placed right next to your existing tiles. If you'd rather not keep a tile you've just gained, you can always discard it. One special note: mountains occupy spaces on land tiles and can't have habitat tiles placed on them. And any oil spills you haven't covered by the end of the game are worth -1 victory point each. So you'll want to fill those in. I mean, not just for points, but also for environmental reasons, right? Now herbivores. These are the main animal tiles you'll be placing into your habitats throughout the game. Each herbivore is double-sided, and the background color shows you what habitat it belongs to. Both sides also shows its name, its size, and its value. It enters play on its reintroduced side where its size and value are equal. Later, you can flip it to its established side where the heart icon indicates a healthy growing population and its value increases while its size stays the same. Just know that cards in the game always refer to the herbivore's value, not its size. You can add as many herbivores from the supply to a habitat as can fit. The total size of all animal tiles, herbivores, and snakes combined must be equal to or less than the total size of the habitat. So this wetland habitat here has a size of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 because of the sprout icon. It could fit 2 of these African marsh rats. Or instead I could just put 1 water buck. Or I could put this size 1 green water snake here and have it live with a bush pig, or a size 2 snake and alternatively fill it with a greater cane rat instead. 2 important notes about these herbivores and snakes. Once they've been placed, they can't be removed. So if I was hoping to save up for this super valuable hippo, I might not want to place anything there and wait until my habitat is big enough to accommodate this. Also, these animals aren't attached to a particular tile, but they belong to the entire habitat, so they can't be moved around freely within that habitat to make space for other things. Desert habitats have one extra rule. Before any herbivore can be placed in a desert, you need an oasis tile there first. Each herbivore in a desert needs its own oasis to support it. Snakes, however, don't need an oasis to exist in a desert. For example, although this desert habitat currently has a capacity of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it could not accommodate this springbok because there isn't an oasis there for it. Adding this oasis tile here not only makes it habitable for a herbivore, but it also increases the capacity by 2 more because of the sprout icon, so it could now accommodate this gemsbok. Although there's enough space for this hyrax and jaculus, they couldn't both go there because there's only 1 oasis tile and they each need their own. However, a Dorcas gazelle and a size 1 zebra cobra could live there since this cobra doesn't need an oasis. Now that we've got habitats and herbivores handled, here's how the game actually works. Beginning with the starting player and moving clockwise around the table, players take turns until the end of the game is triggered. Let's break down how a turn actually works. Each turn, you have 2 mandatory actions that you must perform and any number of optional actions that you can perform in whatever order you'd like. The first mandatory action is to choose a rondel segment. Place the action selection token next to any segment of the rondel of your choice, even the same one that the previous player chose. The segment you choose determines 3 things: which habitat tile is available to you for free this turn, which specific actions you can take, and how much energy you have to spend on those actions. The other mandatory action is that you must take the habitat tile from the segment or play a primate card. Which one you do is totally up to you, but one of these has to happen. If you choose the habitat tile, you take it from the rondel and either immediately place it on an open space in your land, or you can discard it if you don't want to place it. If you choose to play a primate card instead, play the card from your hand face up and place a primate pawn on any habitat tile in your land that matches one of the 2 habitat types shown on the card's top left. Make sure that the primate is clearly placed on the habitat that you selected in the case of a split tile. And here's the catch. Primates are territorial, so you can't place a primate pawn on any tile adjacent to another primate pawn already in your land. They don't like putting up with others' monkey business. Once played, you gain the immediate effect shown on the card. Also, primates don't count against the habitat size that we discussed earlier since they live up in the trees, but at the end of the game, they score victory points based on how many adjacent tile edges match their preferred habitat, so plan their territory carefully. So, the 2 mandatory actions that you must take at some point during your turn are to choose a segment on the board by placing the action selection token by it, and either place a habitat tile or play a primate. Beyond these, there are several optional actions that you can take. These are take Rondel Actions, play predator cards, attract a specialist, activate a specialist effect, and reintroduce herbivores. Most of these are quite straightforward, but I'll break them all down, starting with the heaviest lifting, and that's taking Rondel Actions. Each Rondel segment depicts various actions on its outer edge, and these each have an energy cost illustrated by these yellow circles. Each circle represents 1 energy you must spend. You can activate any or all of the actions of your chosen segment as many times as you'd like by spending the energy they require. Now, energy can be spent from 2 sources. First of all, you can use any sun energy that's sitting on the inner part of your Rondel segment. Alternatively, you can spend bioenergy from your own supply to pay for these actions. To spend sun energy, simply slide energy tokens from your segment to the center of the board as you spend them. To spend your bioenergy, return your tokens to the general supply. Here's a rundown of what each type of Rondel action does. Gain 1 bioenergy and add it to your personal supply. A card icon lets you take 1 face-up card of the indicated type from this supply, but don't refill the card supply yet. This icon is the Establish a Herbivore effect that lets you flip one of your herbivore tiles over to its established side for increased value. This lets you take a habitat tile 1 space counterclockwise for 2 energy, or 2 spaces for 3 energy, and so on, adding 1 energy per segment. With this action, you take the top land tile from the stack and place it adjacent to your current land. The only restriction is that it must be placed adjacent to your current land so that it's connected by at least 1 edge. Here you gain an Oasis tile of your choice and place it in your land. With this action, you can gain and place a size 2 river tile for 2 energy or a size 3 for 3 energy. Your river tile must be connected to water that's already in your land. Note that you start the game with 2 water sources on the mountain hex of your starting land. This icon lets you take 2 snakes and place them in their matching habitats with either side facing up, either size 1 or 2, which does count toward the capacity of that habitat. And lastly, this action allows you to take any combination of 2 tiles, choosing between snakes and size 1 rivers, and place them in your land. Going over those actions covers a lot of the effects that will come up throughout the game. Keep in mind that if a card ever generates one of those abilities, you don't need to pay energy for it. You just gain the benefit. Now let's look at the other free actions you can take. First, reintroducing herbivores. You can always take and place herbivores from the supply into its matching habitat in your player area as long as you have the space to support it. Next, playing a predator card. To do so, you must satisfy the condition shown on the card. If you meet the condition, place a predator pawn right on top of one of the animal tiles that help satisfy it. Sounds scary. Each animal tile can only hold 1 predator pawn. Then, if any predator bonus tiles are still available, you may immediately claim one and gain its effect. So to play this beastly Nile crocodile, the requirement says that I need to have 2 established wetland herbivores. That means 2 wetland herbivores with their heart side up, which I've accomplished with these 2 rats. So I place the predator token here. As a reward, I get to take one of these predator bonus tiles. So I chose this one, which immediately gives me a size 3 river tile, which I chose to place right there. Attracting a specialist is another free action. Each of the 5 specialist types, river, wetland, woodland, savanna, and desert, has a track on the specialist board. Add up the total value of all of your animal types matching that habitat type. If the total meets or exceeds the threshold shown directly above the current specialist token on the track, congratulations, you've attracted them. Move the token 1 space up the track, then draw 2 cards from that specialist deck. Keep one and discard the other to the bottom of the deck. Each player can attract at most 1 specialist of each type during the game, so a maximum of 5 total. And that's a perfect segue into our final free action, which is activate a specialist effect. Your specialists have various benefits they provide. This icon means that this ability is a once per game effect, so once you've used this, turn the specialist sideways to remind you that it can no longer be used for the rest of the game. This symbol indicates that you can use this specialist ability once per turn, and this infinity sign means that it can be used repeatedly whenever its effect applies. So just to quickly recap, each turn you must choose a Rondel segment, and you must either take the free habitat tile there or play a Primate card. Additionally, you can spend energy to take Rondel actions, you can play predator cards, attract specialists, activate specialist effects, and place herbivores freely into your land. A few quick important notes to always remember. Any cost for actions must be paid fully before you gain any effect. However, all beneficial effects or things that you might gain are optional. You can take all, some, or even none. Also, any of the free actions can be used multiple times during a turn, including the same Rondel action being used repeatedly. And lastly, all of the actions, including the 2 mandatory ones, can be taken in any order. However, taking Rondel actions and taking the free habitat tile have to come after choosing your Rondel segment, since they depend on that in order for it to happen. Let me show you an example turn where I do a bunch of this stuff to give you an idea of what it might look like in real time. I'll place the action selection token here. My mandatory action is that I either take this habitat tile or play a Primate card. I'm going to play this olive baboon that either needs to go on a savanna or a desert space. I'm going to put him right here in this savanna. This lets me immediately establish this jaculus and also place a zebra cobra. Next, I'll take this Rondel action, which costs me 3 energy, and I'll spend these 3 sun energy, which gains me 2 snakes. I'll put this boomslang in this woodland right here, and this gaboon viper in the savanna right there. Since my savanna animals now have a total value of 7, I get to attract a specialist, so I draw 2 savanna cards and I choose one to keep and discard the other one back to the bottom of the deck. This hydraulic engineer gives me 1 bioenergy every time I gain an Oasis tile. Well, luckily, that's one of my available actions right here, so I'll spend 1 sun energy along with 2 bioenergy and gain this Oasis tile, which I'll place right here, gaining me 1 bioenergy. Once you're done taking all of your actions, there are 4 end of turn steps. First, distribute energy. Starting with the first segment clockwise from the action selection token, place 1 used sun energy into each segment going clockwise until the center of the rondel is empty. Energy you didn't spend in your segment stays there. Second, refill habitat tiles. Starting with your segment and going clockwise, refill any empty rondel spaces with tiles from the active stack. At any point during the game, if your active habitat stack is empty and you need to draw a tile, remove the bird watching tile from the next stack if there is one. If not, remove the endgame trigger tile and continue drawing from the new stack. And third, refill the card tableau. Slide any remaining face-up cards to the left to fill gaps, then draw from the decks to fill remaining empty spaces. If one of these decks ever runs out, shuffle the discard pile to replenish it. And fourth, if you removed a bird watching tile or endgame trigger tile from one of the habitat stacks this turn, you resolve its effects now. Removing a bird watching tile triggers a bird scoring phase. Here's how it works. First, refresh the card tableau by discarding the leftmost card from each row and refilling as normal. Then each pair of neighboring players evaluates the 2 bird cards between them, or all 4 cards in a 2-player game. Each bird card has unique criteria, like who has the most primates in play or who has the most mountain ranges of size 2 or bigger. Whoever better meets the bird's criteria gains 2 bioenergy. If it's a tie, some cards like this helmeted guinea fowl have a tiebreaker denoted by this symbol. For example, this card is looking for the player with the single highest value woodland creature. However, if it's a tie, you go to the second highest value, and so on. If it's still a tie or there's no tiebreaker, each player instead gets 1 bioenergy. After bird watching, if you have more than 8 bioenergy, the excess goes back to the supply. The game ends when the endgame trigger tile is drawn from the final habitat stack. Everyone finishes the current round, so all players have had an equal number of turns, and then all players take 1 final full turn. After that, it's time to score the game and see how your hard work has paid off. Here's how the final scoring works. First, run 1 final bird watching phase, but this time, instead of gaining energy, each player scores 2 victory points per bird they won, or 1 point each if it's a tie. Each herbivore and snake tile in your land scores its printed value. Each river tile scores its listed value as well. Subtract 1 point for each oil spill still showing in your land. Each predator pawn scores based on the value of the animal tile it's placed on. If its prey has a value of 1 to 3, it earns the predator 1 victory point. A value of 4 to 6 earns 2 points. Value 7 to 9 earns 3 points, and you get 4 victory points for a value of 10 to 12. Each primate pawn scores 1 point for each adjacent tile edge that matches the habitat type it's sitting on. Any fauna cards still in your hand at game end score points based on how well you've met their printed criteria. And all specialist cards you've played contribute their printed victory points. Here's what an endgame scoring might look like. First, I add up the values of all my herbivores and snakes. I have 1, 2, 6, 10, 17, 24, 34, 35, 37, 41, 51, 54, 55, 57, 58 points there. Then I add in my rivers. I have 3, 6, 8, 9, 10, 13 more points. Fortunately, I don't have any oil spills remaining since I covered them all up, so I don't lose any points for that. Next, I look at my 2 predators. This one's on a value 7 herbivore, so it gets 3 points. This one's on a value 10 herbivore, so it gets 4 points. So that's a total of 7 points for my predators. Next up are my 2 primates. This one's habitat has 1, 2, 3 adjacent edges of the same type, so that's 3 more points. This one has 2 that match it, so that's a total of 5 points for my primates. I have 3 fauna cards. For this one, I have 1 river that has all 3 sized river tiles in it. Unfortunately, this one doesn't, so I just get 6 points. This one gives me points for having lots of size 3 river tiles. I have 1, 2, 3, so that gives me another 7 points for a total of 13. And lastly, this one wants me to have wetland habitats with animals in them. So I have 1, 2, 3 different wetland habitats, so that gives me 4 more points for a total of 17 points for my fauna cards. And finally, these 2 specialist cards are worth 2 points each for a total of 4 more points. Once all players have tallied their scores, the player with the most victory points wins and has built the most wondrous wildscape in the world, while the rest of the players wander around in their lackluster landscapes. In case of a tie, the player in later turn order wins. And that's Wildscape, no rulebook required. There's also a solo mode where you face off against the poachers, an automated opponent with 7 difficulty levels. You can read all about that in the rulebook right here. I hope you have an amazing time restoring the wild and that this video helps you dive right in. If anything's unclear or you have a question about the game, drop a comment below and you'll hear right back from me. I've linked the Board Game Geek page for Wildscape in the description below, along with the Karma Games website where you can learn even more. Thanks so much for watching another installment of Rip Up the Rules.